Hello again. I want to look today at somebody whose career as a teacher was almost ended because he expressed an opinion that many people disagree with. He didn't threaten or harass anybody. He merely said that he didn't think that somebody was right in what they were doing. It's a scary story and shows why so many people today are frightened of saying anything in the least controversial in case they lose their jobs or are prosecuted. This man's name is Richard Lucas and he's a teacher in Scotland. Before going any further, let me say that this is about somebody's view on the ideal structure of a family and the best way to raise children. I happen to believe that the best type of family is a man and woman who are married to each other and raising their own children together. I think that's what leads to the best possible outcome for children. That doesn't mean that I disapprove of or criticise those who have different types of families, just that I regard this as the ideal arrangement. When I was young, I felt differently at times, and I thought for a while that raising children communally might be the best way. I think now that I was wrong. The point is, though, that if at that time in the 1970s I had said that I didn't think that the traditional nuclear family was a good idea and that children being raised by a community was a better scheme, nobody would have batted an eyelid. In fact, a lot of people did say that in the 1970s. There was quite a movement against the nuclear family. There was a lot of debate. There was debate in magazines and newspapers and on the television. And many people had that view that the nuclear family was defunct, it was finished. That's fine. Nobody accused those people of anything terrible. They were quite happy to discuss it and defend their own views on the nuclear family. It was just a difference of opinion. Those who thought that the marriage and the nuclear family were a better idea would have said why they disagreed with me, and nobody would have accused anybody of assaulting anybody. Which is what happened to Richard Lucas in Scotland, by the way. He was actually accused of assaulting somebody by expressing a different view about family life. It would have been possible, in other words, to discuss the nature of an ideal family without anybody being threatened with loss of his career. What teacher Richard Lucas did was to put a video on YouTube, the way that I put videos on YouTube expressing my own views, in which he said that he didn't think it a good idea for former Scottish Conservative leader Ruth Davidson to have a fatherless child with her female partner. He said, which is perfectly true, that all the evidence was that children raised with their mother and father rather than by single parents or same-sex couples did better in life. And all the evidence is there, particularly for girls, being raised with their fathers is one of the strongest indicators for good life outcomes. I'm sure that some people will agree with this, and I dare say that others will disagree. What happened to Richard Lucas was that the General Teaching Council for Scotland tried to have him struck off the register of authorised teachers, thus ending his career and his livelihood and perhaps threatening him with homelessness. At the meeting where they attempted to do this, their representative said that he had ridiculed and assaulted Ruth Davidson. I mean, I've got to ask, did this person speak the same language as the rest of us? Did anybody really believe that Richard Lucas had assaulted Ruth Davidson by saying that he thought that her family structure was not his own idea of the best way to raise a child? There really is a touch here of Alice in Wonderland. This is like the Mad Hatter's Tea Party. How could you possibly claim that someone had been assaulted because someone else had criticised their family structure? It's hysteria. It's the only word for it. He had criticised one of the great sacred cows of our time, same-sex marriage, and deserved to be punished by being rendered unemployable. It was a spiteful and wicked attempt to harm a man who had done nothing other than express a heterodox opinion about marriage, Of course, he'd fallen foul of the homosexual lobby by saying anything about Ruth Davidson, and that's quite a powerful force as well. Anything which seems to be critical of homosexuality these days can land you in hot water. I provide links in the description to this video to the case. As I say, I can't imagine this ever having happened in the 1970s or the 1980s or even the 1990s. It's a relatively new thing. The idea that by simply saying that he disapproves of traditional family life with a mother and father raising their kids together, this man was threatened with the loss of his livelihood. I find that quite shocking. This is why so many people are afraid these days of saying what they think. The consequences can be absolutely disastrous.